Hey everybody, Mike with Games Play Badly. Now I want you to put your imagination to use here and think about an entire universe where the planets are destroyed, and then an omnipotent being, God, demigod, comes together and takes a sliver of each one of those worlds and puts them together to form one world. For someone who's actually already created something like that, Cyle from Play Nerd Allies and his troop of merry people have streams going on right now regarding um, that exact campaign, that exact campaign, that exact cam, that exact campaign setting. And we talked to him today about his creations and what Play Nerd Allies actually is. Now they have 4 streams that go on throughout the week. 2 are part of this homebrew world that I just told you about. Another one is kind of an homage to a series of books. And then they play some Magic on Friday. And those streams are always fun. I was actually on one of those the other day. So I can't wait for you to meet Cyle. This is, of course, a Dungeon Glitch shirt. It says, "Whatever doesn't kill me gives me EXP." And these are from Gem Firefly, of course. So go up to gemfirefly.com and take a look around. And if you like something and you want to buy it, go ahead and use our discount code BADLY15, BADLY 15, for 15% off your checkout. And thanks again to Matt for sending me some awesome shirts. This interview was a lot of fun. We laughed, we cried, we did all sorts of crazy stuff. We had a lot of takes to get started because I was having some technical issues. So captured some of that for you as well. But the main show is about to start. That interview starts now. All right. All right.
I think it'll be a good interview.
We're gonna try. I'm gonna try real hard, Kyle.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
All right. Michael, you can do it. Okay. Hey, Kyle, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you doing?
Great. So this is officially like our 11th or 12th take because my computer down here is taking a complete dump, and so
we're gonna do it though.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I promise. So why don't you tell me more about Play Nerd Allies?
Well, we are our
time.
tagline is our tagline is creating connection after a year of isolation, because all of us met during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. We had all been suffering from that feeling of isolation that a lot of people were experiencing during the pandemic, and we turned to D&D either because we were currently playing it or because a lot of us played it before. Mm-hmm. And the only way to play it was online, so a lot of us I hadn't even like really experienced the online version of things. Like I tried a little bit, but was sort of intimidated by all of the tech aspects of the VTTs and things like that. Yeah, right. But took the leap, jumped into it, and we all found ourselves on this server, and we really liked each other and we liked playing games with each other, but our DM was terrible. Yeah. Which it's a long story and we can get into that later, but eventually we left that server, and we just started our own, realized that some of us actually wanted to do this full time. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're working on right now. We are working on turning this into an actual thing that we can do on a regular basis, and weirdly enough we are succeeding, so that's always good. Nice,
to have somebody who likes your work is a good thing. So yes. You're connecting with people. You don't we talked about this earlier, you don't necessarily know what the secret sauce is, but it's working. Keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's just where, like, one of the things that I am finding in the community is just the ttrpg community is just so supportive. Mm-hmm. It is so supportive, and the people there are just delightful. And it's not that performative support where people be like, oh yeah, you're great. And then when you're like, hey, come support us, come actually support us. Like come over to the channel and watch us do this. And they're like,
right.
oh, I gotta shampoo my hair. Okay.
Right. I get that too. I mean, and in my own defense, because I am one of those people, only because there's so much content to ingest. I
Well, your
don't have
hair
time
is
for everything.
gorgeous.
You know,
So I understand the maintenance aspect of that.
but I mean, at least, I mean, hopefully you're getting some retweets and people are starting to push people towards your content. And those people who do have time will sit and watch for sure. I know I want to sit and watch. Now you stream like 3 or 4 times a week, right?
Yeah, so we actually started it 5 times a week, and then that became just untenable. It's like when there's only like 3 of us actually managing all of this stuff. It's
right, yeah.
Okay, all right. So now we're down to 4. We took that big hit of getting rid of 1.
Right.
But it's we do 2 streams where it's a homebrew world called the Patchwork Planet, which is essentially it's a world where like the gods had each created a world of their own that was their perfect world. They destroyed all of them in a war with each other, and the god of wisdom actually pulled tiny pieces of all of the different worlds and shoved them together into one place, so as to save a little bit of each of the worlds. And so that's why we call it the Patchwork Planet.
Okay.
And that allowed us a playground where we could put whatever we wanted to in there. And the fun part though is then it's been around for 1,000 years now, and so figuring out how all the different pieces are actually working together with each other, and that like how difficult it must be to have just whole different species coming together. And yeah, it's super fun, it's delightful, and I'm really big on like a world with integrity, meaning both that the creatures in it have integrity and are not just awful to each other, though there are some countries that are not great. Because you have to have a villain.
So there are 2 streams built in your homebrew. What are the other 2 streams about?
Oh, so then we've got also our we're doing a limited campaign based on the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, and we're doing that specifically as a lead up to the premiere on Amazon Prime of the Wheel of Time series that they're doing, which I'm so excited about. I can't even tell you. That book series was such a formative read for me. It was so important to my development as an artist and as just a human. Looking at the world from all the different perspectives that Robert Jordan was incredible at incorporating into a book. So
I'll link the book down below for people who want to read it.
Yeah, it's glorious. It's actually a 14-book series. So there's a lot there. So the series should be going on for quite some time. But it's we're gonna do like a 7-part series, 7-part campaign, and then the next day after the finale we're doing a watch party of the premiere. So nice. That'll be fun. And then the other one is our we've got a couple of Magic the Gathering fanatics on our stream, and so we do Magic the Gathering Arena every Friday. Yeah, where we build the decks and we beat the crap out of each other and make fun of each other for not being able to build the right deck, and
yeah, we were at Gen Con this year, and Mr. Swotek, that's his name, he's a teacher, he has the decks to beat. Like nice. I have my cards, but I don't buy new cards, so there are all these mechanics I didn't understand, and so by the time he got the 35 minutes it took him to tap some stuff, I was like, I give up. I just give up on it.
Yeah, and I'm not great at it, because I'm one of those that I like to build decks where eventually you get to do something amazing, but it takes a while to get there.
Slow burn.
Yeah, and it just people just throw a couple goblins at me, and I'm like, wait, hold on just a minute.
Yeah, it's like if you give me 10 more rounds, I might have mana.
Right. Now, the messed up thing though is there's a card called Asika, and before everything got knocked out, I had this insane Asika Planeswalker deck where it was just in 4 rounds I could have Asika out, and then after that it was just all the Planeswalkers. Like every Planeswalker was coming out, and you were done. There was almost nothing you could do about it. Yeah. So if you killed me in 4 rounds, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, we typically play a lot of kitchen table Magic, so
yeah,
it's 4-handed, maybe 6 people, whatever.
Nice.
Rarely do we go 1-on-1. My husband and I play against each other. What I felt bad about was he had been I had pictures of him with all, like, I have probably 6,000 or 8,000 cards, and he has all these boxes around him, and he's like pulling cards and trying to build the perfect deck. We get to Gen Con, we play for 1 round, and I'm like, I give up.
Right, done.
I'm not built for this anymore. I can't do it.
No, it was crazy. I stopped for like not even a year. I stopped for like 8 months, and there were like 4 new mechanics. And I was like, wait, what? What's happening here?
And some of those are indefensible.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have the right cards, you can't defend against it. If you don't have any cards with that mechanic, you can't defend against it. So you're basically, and we were playing Commander. So, you know, I mean, and you're just getting beaten. And I thought I had some pretty good decks, you know, but I didn't get a chance. Like, again, it took this guy that we were playing with. He tap, untap, tap, retap, tap, tappity tap. It was like watching Shirley Temple. And for those of you who don't know who Shirley Temple is, she was a child actress back in the 30s and 40s, and she tap danced a lot.
And then she married a diplomat named Black. So she was Shirley Temple Black.
He wasn't. She passed away. She passed away recently. But that's where my tappity tap. Anyway, so how many people are in your group between all a zillion streams that you're doing?
Yeah, it just depends. Like there's in our like somewhere between like 6 and 8. So we're not huge, and I like it that way because I can get to know the players really well. And one of the things that we do is because it is a stream and there is an audience, and most people either have like performance experience or they have ttrpg experience, but very few do they have both. And so after every stream, what we do is we have something called a postmortem. That's what we used to call them, like in the groups that I used to act with, where you just like go over the performance, see what happened. And the way that we do them is I'll say everybody gets a chance to say one moment that they loved and one thing that they can improve, you know, so it's up to you to decide what you want to improve that day. And we'll talk about how you can actually improve that. And over the course of several months, like no one's expecting you to just change overnight, but over the course of several months, I've noticed an insane shift in, for instance, like one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about streaming is you would think because it's on camera that it's a visual medium, but it's not. It is much more an auditory medium because more than half the people are just listening, which means if you are, you know, if you're rolling dice and there's some cool graphic on screen that shows you rolling dice, that's great if people are watching. But if they're just listening, it's just dead air.
Right.
It's none of that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, so there are several of the videos that I have that I was going to convert all my videos to podcasts, but then I realized how visual they are.
Yeah.
And so for those people who are actually just listening to them, there's gonna be a lot of dead air of me talking about amazing illustrations and things like that. They can't see anything. So yeah, totally understand.
Yeah, it's just understanding your medium, I think, is really important to a lot of people, and especially newcomers who don't have experience in any of these mediums. Like I've run into a lot of people that are like, well, my friends think I'm cool, so I'm gonna start streaming and it's gonna be amazing. And maybe you're that 1 in a million person where it will just be amazing. You just have a knack for this. But the vast majority of people, it's a skill that you pick up.
You hone it just like anything else.
Yeah. And just acknowledging that, understanding it, and improving on it. I think that's the big thing, is that something that I've thought for decades now is just ego is the art killer. You know, ego is the thing. If you think you're fabulous, you stop trying to improve. You know,
well, I also think that there's an aspect of it where especially if you're the streaming medium, while has been around for a while, for some of us, it's rather new.
Yeah,
And so understanding how to, it's either a fourth wall thing, or
yeah,
it's trying to make sure that that intensity comes across the table. And especially now you're all doing it virtually. So you're basically 4 or 5 different faces on the screen. How are you going to entertain everybody? How are you going to keep, I mean, it's the story, it's the character, it's, there are a lot of aspects there
yeah.
that people don't
Well,
understand.
and one of the things that I keep getting comments on in my social medias and from people that like have been guests on the stream or things like that is that I've got a super unique DMing style.
Mm.
And it's based on the fact that this is a performance. And if you're sitting around a table and you've got six, when I used to play at the table, you'd play like 10 hours.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
Like,
at
it's
least.
like you better strap in with all your soda and your candy and 2
Right.
pizza orders at different points of the day.
Shower? What's that?
Right. And it's if you're doing that sort of thing, then you can absolutely take 2 or 3 or 5 minutes figuring out your next turn, making sure that you're doing things right, making sure like having these longer conversations with people, just having fun at the table. But when you've got a stream and you've got a limited amount of time, there is one of the things that I do is I let my players know when there is urgency. Like if it's a beach episode or a spa episode or a shopping episode or something like that, totally fine. Like do your thing. I'll create some fabulous little NPCs for you and you can go do your thing and we'll get you the things that you want. But it's, if there's something happening, suddenly there's time limits on everything. And if you're at my table and you are taking way too long to figure out what the hell you want to do, a combat round is 6 seconds, people.
Yeah.
Like it's not, and my thing is if you've got 6 people in the party, that means, and you're all going one after each other, that means you had 1 second to react to whatever happened right before you, right? So probably what you're doing is whatever you planned for the last round, that's what you're actually going to do. And if somebody does something that screws that up for you, you're not going to have time to change that. Right. And that's okay. Screwing things up is a great storytelling device.
No, it is. Failure is amusing.
It is fabulous. We actually, for a long time, we did a show called, I don't know if you can bleep this out, but it was called Shitty Rolls, Falling Down Fabulously. And it was all about how you take a failed roll, or especially like a critical fail, and how you tell an amazing story about how the thief did a critical fail on his dexterity check.
Absolutely.
There's better stories even.
There is a YouTube channel up there. It doesn't have a lot of content up there, but there were a couple of things that was like basically a crappy strength roll. And so I think you guys are starting to move that direction.
And
they're just they were itty bitty little things, maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, and we actually did that for a little bit and then realized that none of us really had the time or the expertise to do real editing. And so we're looking for so we found someone in our group that actually can do editing now.
Right.
So, but it took us like 3 weeks to do one 2 minute. No, this is not going to work for us.
Well, if you need help, call me.
I love it. Fabulous.
Just don't ask me to put together a decent computer because this one sucks. I even put together Dell. I mean, it's a non-name, or it's a name brand, non-name brand computer that I have here, and it's not performing very well. So you have all these streams going on. How long have you guys been doing this? Since last year, or?
No, we're actually only 5 months old.
Oh, you're little babies.
Yeah, we're little babies.
Oh,
we found each other in January and we started streaming 5 months ago, and it's been a roller coaster, and a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of it, just crazy stuff, has gone down, and you roll with the punches and you do the best you can. And we're currently, I think, number 98 on Twitch.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so we
impressive.
Well, in the ttrpg scene, which is only so it's so we're growing pretty quickly. And I think a big part of it is the fact that I press my players to understand that there is an audience,
Yeah.
and we're super interactive with the audience. We've got all of these mechanics set up for the audience to like actually change things. Like one thing we implemented recently is that if you do a certain number of bits, you can create an environmental effect. And what I will do is I'll give you 3 words and you have to pick one of them. Like today there was a scene where somebody threw in a bunch of bits and they got an environmental effect. And my crew was in the middle of a mile-tall air elemental that was holding up a city. And they had to get to the heart of it on hang gliders. And so it was, the environmental effect was either thunder, lightning, or wind, and they chose wind. And so what I did was, inside this air elemental was supposed to be hurricane force winds. So there were going to be all these dexterity checks to see if you could actually steer your hang glider and all that kind of stuff. But because somebody in the chat wanted to help the players that much, the wind calmed down. And so they didn't have to do that. There was still thunder and lightning that they had to contend with, but at least one of those obstacles was removed, because chat decided that. Oh yeah, it's great. And they can help, they can give people advantage and pluses and minuses and all that. So I love that because it allows me as a DM to throw much more difficult challenges at my players, like things that are absolutely lopsided, that they should absolutely die from. But I know because of all the people in chat, they're going to be like throwing down advantage and haste and all this kind of stuff at my players. So they'll get through it. It's essentially having like a second party helping you.
It reminds me of the Hunger Games.
Right.
Where you get sponsors, they give you certain things that give you advantages. So that works.
Yeah, I love it. It's just, and it brings the whole community together, which I absolutely adore. Like that's the whole point, is making people feel like they're a part of this.
Well, and we were talking earlier as to trying to figure out what makes your stream successful. That might be the secret sauce right there.
I would love that if that was it. I'm hoping it's like the storytelling, but I don't have that much ego that I'm like, it has to be me. Oh God.
Well, I'm sure the storytelling is part of it, but I think when you involve the audience who's watching something, and they can have fundamental effects on the group's success or failure, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I love that. It just makes me so happy when it happens. Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So now we were talking about this. So you're using and using as in a very soft way. You're using the players' experiences to help do some collaborative world building, right? With the patchwork world, or
yeah. So
planet?
it is. So each of the players had the option to actually create a country in this world, and several of them chose to. And so each country on this planet has a very different feel to it. Like you've got the one that we started in is called Merchantry, and I wanted that to be sort of a little more basic, so that you're starting out without too much craziness going on. And it's that the
level
tutorial level
area.
But it was it's where all of the players' handbook races lived before you get into all of the other fun races. So it's like humans and dwarves and elves. And I remember I loved it. There was at one point somebody was like, wait, are there no halflings? And I was just like, oh God, I forgot halflings. Oh dear. And I was like, you know what? No, there aren't any halflings here. They all live on this island called Briny Bridge. And you know what? They're all pirates. They're all halfling pirates on this island. And the thing that I love is that now we're in this situation where they have to go, they went to the halfling pirate island because they're the only people that have a huge fleet of ships, and they desperately need the ships. But all of the ships are built for halflings, so they're all half size.
So they're hitting their heads the whole shot. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, classic. So, and so you're collaboratively world building. Hello, tongue work.
Yeah, well, and we
Um,
also believe in collaborative storytelling. Like, I'm a
okay,
huge component of, I think that's one of the biggest resources that you have in Dungeons and Dragons or in RPGs in general,
hmm,
is when somebody, what I try to do as a DM is I try to create sort of a scaffolding. So I will, that you can
right,
play on, right? So that you don't feel just totally lost. So I'll generate, you know, a storyline that is, hey, here's what you need to get to. So you're starting here, you need to get to here in this, in this 3 hour session. This is our aim. And I'll like plan a couple different encounters if that's a thing, or a couple of different meetings with different NPCs, or like some interesting, connective tissue somewhere. But the story is built on what the players do and what their reactions are.
absolutely. Yeah,
And like
love that.
today, we had a situation where they went to a market of this very sort of buttoned up area of the city, and one of the players wanted poisons. And that's like, when they said that, suddenly everybody was like, get out of here. Like, but they were way too polite to say you have to leave. They was just like very buttoned up, and everyone whispers everything and it's fine. But as they were leaving the shop, suddenly you see like the other shop window sort of pop open, and you see like the shopkeeper poke their head out and talk to the person at the next shop over about what just happened. And
Mhm.
by the time they get to the inn that they were aiming at, the entire town knew that they were the people that had been asking for poison.
Right, right,
And
yeah.
it was, but that becomes a whole thing then, where we can like figure out, what does that mean? Like, why is this happening? What's going on? And their reactions dictate, the story. And I
Right.
think it's an important thing for a DM to be able to accept what their players say and allow that to build the story, instead of trying to shut down things that they're not prepared for.
I'm not discouraging anyone from being a DM. I'm just saying I feel like a lot of DMs, you need to be able to improvise and be quick on your feet, because things change rapidly. Rarely do players follow the breadcrumbs,
No.
and so you've got to be able to react. But that's the fun part,
Oh
because
yeah,
now they're
yes. And
creating. It's much like Star Trek. Star Trek's kind of fun, but man, do they have so many timelines, right? And so
right.
that's kind of what they're doing. What players are doing is they're breaking off the timeline and building their own
Mhm.
future. So
Yeah, and a part of it too now, if you're going to stream as a DM, part of it is too being able to create things on the fly,
sure.
where it's, if you've got, oh, you're going in a completely different direction, like, oh God, and we're not going to be able to use this encounter at all. But, oh, okay, we're going to go over here. And like, there have been so many days where I'm just like playing along with my players, doing their thing. And, like, you'll throw something in there, like, okay, you got to travel. I want some rolls about the weather and about whether you meet this thing. And then like, you're over here like grabbing like this picture and making this map, and then like grabbing some tokens and doing this thing. It's like, now you meet this thing that I didn't realize you were searching for. Fantastic. Okay, over here.
Oh. Well, I had we've been my group has been going through Chult
Oh yeah.
for Tomb of Annihilation. So that's been literally I don't know, 2 years of us going through this. I mean, it's a big module to unpack, but um one of the characters, Ragnar, you know who you are,
Ah.
his as a hook to kind of help motivate people, I made it so that his mother was ill, and by doing this whole Chult thing, it would save her. And I'll never forget, we were playing one day, and he's like, screw it, let her die. And like, what do you do?
Oh my God,
What do you
no.
do? I don't
Your
know. I'm
whole
like, at that
character
point in time, like,
motivation.
so I mean, those things you have to be prepared for that stuff. But yeah, it
Oh,
was
sure. Well, I am a punishing DM. Like, it is one, and honestly, it's one of the things that I think the chat loves, is that I keep the integrity of the world, and I make sure the characters keep fidelity of character. That it is, if you are trying to do something because it's most beneficial for you now, but you have never shown any inclination that you would do this, and you have in fact done exactly the opposite in similar situations, but
right.
you're just doing it now because maybe you could get a magic weapon out of it or something, I will smite the hell out of you. There is absolutely not that. And metagaming, I'm like, nobody wants to sit here and listen to you like talk about who's got a higher stat block.
Yeah, those are for new players. It's well, and here's the thing: is I it's about DM style, it's about play style. Sometimes GMs are all about metagaming. Like, I'm not the big reveal guy. So like if you're fighting something, I don't tell you what it is, I tell you what it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually it'll pop out, you know, if you guys want to investigate or whatever. And eventually sometimes also I goof them like, oh, you're fighting, you know, the frost giant swings. You know, it's like oh, I know the frost giant. Well, it's a giant is blue. What do you want? But that being said, yeah, I mean, it's people have different play styles, so acclimate your players to your play style, and hopefully they abide by it. You know,
well, and that was a difficult lesson for me too, is understanding that while we're all telling the story together, there has to be a leader who's telling. You know, essentially there has to be like a narrator, and that it's okay if you have a specific narration style.
Sure.
To find people in your orbit, to find people to come to your table that like that narration style.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons that there's a lot of paid DMs out there now. And I totally get if people are paying you to DM for them, that you should accommodate what they're doing because you're providing a service, right? It's one of the reasons that nobody at my table pays. You know, you're coming to my table because there's a specific type of play style that seems to work for us on camera and works for me emotionally, where I can feel free and fun and have a delightful time. And I don't have to worry about whether or not people are going to lose their minds because something happens. Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, like, just very quickly, like, safety tools, it's a thing. Please use them. Like, it's not that difficult. Yeah. I like at least once a week remind my players about safety tools. And I think partially because we are all adults and because we all understand what's going on and we're all here to have fun, we recognize that there are certain situations that there's a huge difference between like an X card moment and just being a little annoyed at somebody or being a little ticked. You know, that there is a difference there. And so I've never had an X moment at my table. So that's nice.
Thankfully, that's good. I mean, because those are tough and disastrous normally. So from the standpoint of the world building is building to a bigger project, right?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to like create this world and use the campaign that we're doing right now to really put flesh on the bones of this world, right? To really make it breathe and give it depth and see what the relationships are between individual people in different places in this world and how the countries all work together and their history, and the players get to help develop the lore by, you know, it's like, okay, tell me about that thing. You know, you just brought up this thing that happened 600 years ago. Tell me about it. It's now part of the lore of the world. But we want to create an actual campaign setting where we're going to use this campaign as the history of that campaign setting. So this is going to be, and these characters are going to be the heroes of legend, you know. And one of the things that I love is that each of the characters has a signature weapon that they carry, and as they do really fabulous things, like whether or not it's a mechanical thing or not, if they tell me an amazing story about what they do with their weapon, the weapon grows in power. And we're actually building on stream the legendary artifacts that are then going to be part of the game. So it's like, you know, instead of the deck of many things, you're going to have Frostbane, the vampiric shadow ice sword, you know, just fabulous things like that. And it's totally dependent on the characters. But yeah, we're going to be doing that and creating a whole bunch of different modules and things like that for DM's Guild and Drive Through RPG, all of that, because we recognize that it's great to watch, but a lot of people actually want, like, they'll see them like, oh my God, what a cool idea. And we want people to be able not just to see the world, but to be able to play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I have something that I do with all of my guests that is groundbreaking material here.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. Cutting edge.
Cutting edge. It's a quick fire challenge.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And so all I do is I ask you 4, 5, 10, 15 hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
And you give me whatever you think of first.
Okay. Are we allowed to curse?
I would say yes, to an extent. Little F, not big F.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And it was funny because I was going to go F yeah, but I didn't. Because that would have been funny. That would have been comedy gold. Out of all of the D&D that you've played, what has been your favorite campaign setting?
My favorite campaign setting has been actually my own.
Okay.
It's just because it's so close to my heart. Like I'm so invested in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So from the standpoint of DMing, what is your favorite class for a player to play?
Oh, not for me to play, for a player to play. For a player to play, oh God, that's difficult. I love a good rogue. I love a good rogue
stab,
because well, stabby stab, but also all the skills. Sure. So that you can throw them really interesting challenges and they'll still be able to overcome it. It's not standing at a doorway desperately trying to figure out how to get inside.
Yeah. From the standpoint of your favorite season, would it be spring or fall?
Oh damn, that is a good one too. I would say fall. There's because of pumpkin pie mostly.
That brings me to my next question. Cake or pie?
Oh God. Well, that's another. Oh, why are you ruining my life? I'll go pie. I'll go pie because there are a lot of pies that I like, and there are only a few cakes that I like.
Last one. What's your favorite holiday in the U.S.?
Oh Lord, I like 4th of July because my birthday's on the 2nd, and so I get to pretend the fireworks are for me.
Perfect. Yeah, you get fireworks either way. So, well, Kyle, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. I am going to go. Break up your streams. So they're 4 days a week.
So you can find us on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern to do Hunter's Harvest, which is a campaign that's all about finding these things now called planar touchstones. Okay. There is traveling all over the multiverse. Then Wednesday is Delver's Dream. That's in the same universe. But this is much more of a diplomatic thing, trying to get countries to come together and fight the Lich Queen for now. That's the sort of tier 2 thing that's going on. Then Thursdays at noon Eastern time, you've got our Wheel of Time campaign. So that's episode 3 is coming out tomorrow. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but there's tomorrow for me. There's just a whole horde of Trollocs, and they're trapped in this little space. So they might all get murdered tomorrow. So by the time this airs, they might all be dead. But who knows? Hopefully not.
I won't let anyone know. I'll let it all happen.
And then on Friday in the evening, we actually do our Magic the Gathering Arena Smackdown, where Lando creates all kinds of fun decks and does the drafts and does, like challenges and racks up points in the ranks and all that good stuff. So that's a nice, chill, fun stream where we just talk absolute geekery. Okay,
that's awesome. I will try and put all that stuff down below, as well as a link to your website and your stream.
I love it.
Everyone who's watching right now, go and check them out. It sounds like a good time. And it sounds like there are multiple options for everybody. So maybe you like one, maybe you like Tuesday nights, you don't like Wednesday nights, but give them all a try.
Right.
So
do it.
I gotta love variety, right?
Spice of life.
Absolutely. Kyle, it was a pleasure. Best of luck, and let me know if you need anything from me. I'm more than willing to help.
Oh, thank you so much. And I definitely will. And when I get to Chicago, we will go have some shepherd's pie and play some RPGs.
Let's play D&D and eat Indian food.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
My favorite cuisine on the planet. So. But we'll talk soon. Thanks for stopping by.
Fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome.